The Deep Space Research Station Outpost 47 was quiet as always. Nothing exciting ever happened there. Just scientists, engineers, and a few board security officers floating around a metal box in space. But that changed the day she arrived. Her name was Zarixa, and she was from Andrax 7, a planet far beyond human colonies. The crew knew aliens worked in some stations, but most had never seen one up close. So, when Zarixa walked into the control room on her first day, every head turned. She was tall, much taller than any human. Her skin shimmered like metal under light, a strange silver-blue tone. Her eyes were large, completely black, like twin voids. She had no hair, just smooth ridges running along her head like fins, but it wasn't her appearance that made people uncomfortable. It was the way she looked at people, especially at Jace. The station's systems engineer, Jace noticed it the moment she stepped in. She looked straight at him, eyes wide, nostrils flaring slightly. No hello, no smile. Just pure, quiet focus. He gave a small wave. She didn't wave back. For the next few days, Jace tried to ignore it. Maybe it was her culture. Maybe staring was normal on Andrax 7. Maybe she just didn't like humans. But then things got weirder. One morning, Jace walked into his lab and stopped dead. Sitting right in the middle of his desk was a flower, not a normal flower. It was bright red with long black thorns and a strange glowing center. It looked alive. It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. A thick, clear liquid dripped slowly from its petals. A note beside it read, "A gift for your scent." Jace blinked. My scent? He looked around, half expecting someone to jump out and yell, "Pranked!" But no one did. The room was empty, and the gift was very real. He picked it up carefully, sniffed the flower, then quickly pulled away. It smelled sharp, sweet, and somehow hungry. He dropped it in a containment jar and locked it. At lunch, he found Zarixa in the mess hall, sitting alone. She was eating something from her home planet. It wriggled in the bowl. Jace walked over. "Hey, did you leave a flower on my desk?" She looked up. "Yes, you accepted it?" "Well, I found it," he said awkwardly. "What was that about my scent?" Zarixa tilted her head. "Your biology is unusually strong. The others do not affect me the same way." Jace forced a laugh. "Thanks, I guess." She leaned forward slightly. "Your body chemistry is fascinating." He took a step back. "Okay, cool, I'm gonna go now." She nodded once, eyes still locked on him. Later that day, he checked with the station's xenobiologist, Dr. Karen. "Oh, she's from the Andraxian prime species," Karen said, not looking up from her screen. "They're highly scent-based. Most of their communication is through smell and body heat." "That explains the sniffing," Jace muttered. "But what about the flower?" Karen raised an eyebrow. "Flower? What kind?" He showed her a photo. She froze. "That's a mating offering." Jace nearly dropped his tablet. "What?" "She's probably chosen you as a potential mate," Karen said casually, going back to her work. "It's cultural. It happens. During their mating season, just be polite and decline." Jace stared at her. "That's it? Just decline?" "Sure," she shrugged. "But don't offend her, and don't show fear." Jace groaned. That night he found another note on his cabin door. No envelope. Just a folded card taped right to the center. He opened it slowly. Inside, "You are being considered. Prepare." That was all. No signature, but he knew exactly who sent it. He didn't sleep much that night. His dreams were full of red flowers, glowing eyes and long fingers reaching out from the shadows. The next day, she was waiting at his workstation when he arrived. "Your scent changed," she said. "I showered twice," he replied. "Interesting. It excites my glands." Jace slowly backed toward the door. "I need to, do something over there. Very important." She watched him go. Her eyes never blinked. In the staff lounge, Jace sat down, rubbing his temples. "Why me? Out of the entire crew, why me?" His friend Mateo laughed. "Come on, man. You're the only single guy who eats garlic every meal. Maybe that does it for her species." Jace wasn't laughing. He pulled out the strange flower from the containment jar and stared at it. It pulsed again, and for a second he swore. It smiled. Asterisk. Jace thought maybe it would stop. Maybe if he ignored the flower, acted normal, and avoided Zarixa, everything would go back to boring space station life. He was wrong, dead wrong. 3 days after the flower incident, Zarixa stopped being subtle. If she ever was, she started showing up everywhere Jace went. She appeared in the hallway while he was brushing his teeth, stood behind him in the elevator without a word. Once, he turned a corner in the engine bay and she was already standing there, staring as if waiting. Always silent, always watching. At first, he thought it was a coincidence, but coincidences don't leave their gloves in your locker with a handwritten note that says, "I want to know your warmth." Jace went back to the xenobiologist, Dr. Karen. "She's following me," he said, "like really following me. This morning I woke up and found a small pile of shiny rocks outside my door." Karen raised an eyebrow. "Were they blue?" "Yes, she's courting you." "Courting? Like dotting?" Karen sighed. "More like hunting. Andraxians have a mating pursuit phase. When they choose someone, they observe them, learn their patterns, leave small symbolic gifts like flowers, gloves, shiny rocks. Is there an off button for this? Not really. The cycle lasts about 6 weeks. Unless what?" Karen looked hesitant. "Unless she thinks another mate is trying to steal you. Then it speeds up." Jace leaned back in the chair. "So if anyone else flirts with me, she might get aggressive." Later that afternoon, Jace was having coffee in the break room. Just him and Riley, the station's communications officer. Riley was friendly. "Too friendly, maybe. So," she said with a smile, "you and the tall alien lady something going on?" Jace almost choked. "What? No way," Riley laughed. "I don't know. She stares at you like you're made of cake." Jace didn't laugh. Then the lights flickered. A low growl came from behind the vending machine. Both of them turned. Zarixa stepped into view, slowly, like a shadow melting from the wall. Her black eyes locked on Riley. Then, without a word, she placed one of her long hands on Jace's shoulder and said, "He is claimed." Riley left quickly. Jace sat frozen. Zarixa leaned close and sniffed him. "You are emitting stress." "Do not fear. I will protect our bond." I didn't bond anything," Jace stuttered. She blinked slowly. "You accepted the flower? That was a mistake." "There are no mistakes in nature, only connection." Then she left, her footsteps completely silent on the metal floor. Jace went to human resources. "Fast. I'm being stalked," he told the officer behind the desk. "Oh, Zarixa," the officer said, smiling. "Lucky guy, not lucky hunted?" The officer leaned forward. "Listen. Andraxians have strict traditions. If she's chasing you, it means she respects you. She sees you as genetically desirable." Not comforting. "Just don't insult her. If you reject her publicly, it could cause offense. An offense during mating season is dangerous." "Dangerous how?" The officer didn't answer. Jace decided to send a message back to Earth, a private one. But when he tried, his system flashed an error. Access denied. Count in bonding. Observation. What? He tried again. Restricted. Emotional interference protocol. Initiated. He stormed back to Dr. Karen. "She blocked my messages?" Karen frowned. "She probably linked your scent to her neural cloud. That gives her limited control over your digital presence. It's sort of romantic on their world. This is space harassment. You need to stay calm." Karen warned. If she senses fear or betrayal, she might speed up the bonding process. Some males don't walk straight after that. "What does that even mean?" She didn't answer that night. Jace found his room colder than usual. He checked the temperature. Normal. But something felt wrong. He checked under the bed. Nothing. Checked the closet. Nothing. Then he looked at the vent above his bed. 2 black eyes stared back. He screamed. Zarixa crawled out slowly, flipping down from the ceiling like a spider. She landed softly and stood upright. "I watched you sleep," she said. "Why?" "To know your rhythms, your breathing, your vulnerabilities." "That's not romantic. That's terrifying." She tilted her head. "I bring comfort." She handed him a box. He opened it. Inside, a perfectly carved figure of him, made from Andraxian bone wood. Muscles, face, even his crooked left ear, it was all there. You made this? Yes, I whittled while watching you shower. Jace dropped the box. I need some air. There is no air outside, she replied softly. Only vacuum. But I will follow. He ran as he sprinted down the hallway, heart pounding. He heard her voice echo behind him. You cannot outrun chemistry. And for the first time, Jace truly believed it. Jace didn't run often, but that night he ran harder than he ever had in his life, down the corridor, past the sleeping pods, past the water recycler, past the confused janitor droid that beeped. Please walk, his heart pounded. Not from the running, but from the fear of what he'd just seen. Zarixa had been inside his ceiling vent, watching him sleep, watching him shower, and now she had gifted him a perfectly carved statue of himself. This wasn't just attraction. This was obsession, and it was about to get worse. He hid inside the emergency storage room, wedging a broomstick through the door handles just in case. He slumped against the wall, breathing heavily. The room was dark, cold, full of metal crates and old vacuum suits, but at least he was alone, or so he thought. A light flickered. Then a voice spoke from the shadows. You ran. Why? Jace froze. She was already in the room. Zarixa stepped out from behind a supply rack, silent as a ghost. Her eyes glowed faintly in the low light. She was holding something small in her hand, shiny and sharp. I wanted to give you this, she said softly, extending the object. It was a ring, not metal, not plastic. It looked like it was made from the scales of some alien creature. I shaped it from my own skin, she said proudly. Jac slowly shook his head. I can't accept this. Zarixa's voice changed. Lower, slower. You must. It seals the bond. No bond, he said quickly. I'm not your mate. Zarixa didn't speak. She just stared at him for a long moment. Then, without warning, she turned and walked toward the wall. And melted straight through it. Jace blinked. She didn't go through a door. She slipped into the maintenance ducts, through a narrow gap only her body could bend into. She was tracking him. The next morning, he tried to act normal. He shaved, dressed, and went to the lab like nothing happened. Except he hadn't slept. His eyes were puffy. His hands shook when he poured his coffee. Mateo, his friend, raised an eyebrow. You look like a scared squirrel. I'm being hunted, Jace muttered. You said that yesterday? And I was right. Mateo leaned closer. Dude, just hide somewhere. Wait it out. You're an engineer. Use that brain. Jace paused. Then he smiled. 3 hours later, Jace stood in front of Lab Bay 3, holding a toolkit and chewing mint gum to cover his scent. He had an idea, a very human idea. He was going to trap her. He set up a fake version of his scent, using his old gym towel and a heater rigged to mimic body heat. He put the decoy inside a storage chamber and connected it to a remote locking system. Then he waited. 1 hour, 2 hours. Then movement, the temperature sensor spiked. She was near, from behind a stack of crates. Jace watched as Zarixa slipped into the room like a shadow. She moved toward the decoy, sniffing the air, eyes shining with hunger or desire. He couldn't tell anymore. She reached out toward the towel. Jace pressed the button. Clang. The chamber doors slammed shut. Zarixa was trapped. For a second he felt pure victory. Yes, he whispered, pumping his fist, but then the doors began to bend. Metal began to warp under her hands. Jace's eyes widened. Oh no. Zarixa tore the doors open like paper. The scent decoy dropped to the floor. She looked around slowly. Her pupils were wider than ever. You tricked me, she whispered. Jace turned and ran again. This time he didn't stop until he reached the captain's quarters. He slammed his fist on the door. Captain Rana opened it, half asleep. Jace, what's wrong? She's after me. Who? Zarixa. Captain Rana blinked. The Andraxian? She's chasing me like I'm a space rabbit. The captain sighed. This again, she just bent steel. That got her attention. Fine, the captain said. Come in, lock the door. While Jace explained, the captain checked Zarixa's personnel file. Her mating cycle just started last week, she said. Normally, they don't get this intense so soon. She said I'm genetically perfect, Jace muttered, rubbing his eyes. Well, the captain said with a smirk, flattering, isn't it? Jace didn't laugh. All right, she continued. I'll talk to her. Officially? She has to follow human rules while she's on this station. Thank you, Jace said. Finally relaxing, then the lights flickered again and the vent above the desk rattled. Jace stared at it. Oh no, not again. The captain reached for her stun baton. But it was too late. A red flower dropped from the vent and landed on the desk. It pulsed, dripping, and beside it, a note, the chase is tradition, resistance makes it sweeter. Asterisk Jace had one last hope. Not science, not engineering. Not duct tape or decoys or garlic breath. HR. The one department no one ever wanted to visit. The office where petty arguments, serious complaints, and galactic misunderstandings all went to quietly die. JAC stood outside the human resources door, sweating. His shirt was soaked. Not from heat but from fear. He was being stalked by an alien woman who could smell his stress and break steel panels with her bare hands. He pressed the buzzer. State your request, said a bored robotic voice. I need help, Jace said quickly. It's relationship related. A pause. Then the door hissed open. He stepped inside. The HR office was too clean, too quiet. It felt like walking into the middle of a lie. Behind a smooth silver desk sat Mr. Eller, the station's HR officer. A tall, thin man with skin so pale it looked like uncooked dough. He was part cyborg. His eyes flickered like old screens. Ah, Eller said, smiling in a way that felt like a trap. Engineer Jace Fenton, sit down. Jace sat. I need to file a report. About an Andraxian coworker, Xerixa. Eller raised one eyebrow. A mating claim? Yes, Jace said. Exactly, she's chasing me. Watching me sleep? Leaving skin rings and blood flowers and whispering about my scent patterns. I've trapped her twice. She broke out both times. Eller nodded calmly. So you're experiencing the chase? You say that like it's normal. For her species it is. But I'm human. Yes, and apparently a very appealing one. Jace leaned forward. I want it to stop. Eller folded his hands. We can't interfere with cultural rights unless there's imminent bodily harm. She watches me in the shower. That's emotional discomfort, not physical harm. She threatened to seal the bond. Eller smiled again. That's not a threat, mister. Fenton, that's a compliment. Jace stared at him. So your advice is, be respectful, don't insult her, don't run. Running increases the intensity of the ritual, so just let her pursue me? For 6 more weeks, yes. Maybe less, depends on how long you remain interesting. Jace walked out of the office. Stunned. HR had basically told him to accept the chase or risk offending an alien with claws and very flexible bones. He was on his own. Night. He tried to secure his room. He reinforced the vents. He stacked crates in front of the door. He sprayed peppermint oil, one of the only scents Andraxians found confusing. Then he sat on his bed and stared at the walls. Silence. For 1 hour. Then 2. No footsteps. No dripping flowers. No glowing eyes. He started to relax. Maybe she gave up. Maybe HR said something. Maybe tap, tap, tap. He turned slowly. The sound was coming from his mirror. He got up, heart pounding, and walked over, written in red. Right across the glass. Hide and seek. You're very fun. Jace screamed. The next morning, he visited Dr. Karen again. I need to leave the station, he said. She looked up from her microscope. You filed with HR? They laughed. She sighed. That's normal. They don't get involved with alien bonding rights. She's playing games now. She wrote on my mirror from inside the wall? Dr. Karen raised an eyebrow. She probably used her pheromone ink. Andraxians can write with it. Invisible until you breathe on it. Jace blinked. She's writing love letters with her skin juice? Well, yes. That's how they express passion. He shook his head. I need out. Evac shuttle. Escape pod. I'll float to Mars if I have to. Karen frowned. If you leave mid-cycle, she view it as betrayal. That could lead to a blood scent response. What is that? She may track you across space. The thought of Zarixa breaking into a shuttle mid-flight sent a chill down Jace's spine. He walked the halls of the station, trying to think, trying to breathe, trying to feel like he was still in control. That's when he saw it in the mess hall on the big community screen, playing on loop, footage of him running, security cam clips, him dodging around corners, hiding in closets, jumping over railings. Captioned in bright pink letters, Chase Ritual, Bond Candidate Display, Jace Fenton. Everyone was watching. Laughing. Clapping. Even eating popcorn. Zarixa stood at the back, arms crossed, proud. Her black eyes sparkled. Someone whistled. "He's fast for an engineer." Another voice. "You gonna let her catch you or what, lover boy?" Jace turned and ran again. He didn't stop until he reached the reactor level. No cameras down there, no vents either. Just raw power and radiation shielding. He sat against the wall and tried to breathe. Then he heard a voice, soft, right behind him. "You should not run. It confuses my heart." He turned. She was there. How did she find him? He didn't know, but she looked different now. Not angry. Not wild. Almost hurt. "I don't understand," Zarixa whispered. "I watched 700 hours of human love rituals. I learned gifts, I copied behaviors. I made a figure of your form. I even used scent blockers to be less aggressive. You hid in my ceiling," she said. "I thought you'd be flattered." He stood up slowly. "Zarixa, I'm not from your world. We don't bond this way. Not by chasing, not by trapping. We talk, we go slow, we don't write in blood." Zarixa blinked, slowly, thoughtfully. "Then teach me," she said, and for the first time. Jace didn't feel afraid, just confused. And maybe a little curious. Jace had a plan, a ridiculous, desperate, probably doomed to fail plan, but it was all he had. He called it Plan H. For hide, because when you're being stalked by a 7-foot alien woman who thinks you're her perfect life partner, hiding feels like the only logical move. After his strange conversation with Zarixa in the reactor bay, something had shifted. She wasn't angry anymore, but she wasn't stopping either. In fact, the next morning she handed him a bonding schedule, a color-coded chart with dates, times, and activities. There were notes like 6 o'clock, sent synchronization, walk, 12:15, observe Jace eating. Very important, 18:30, initiate mutual grooming, light level. He had smiled, nodded politely, and then ran to the storage deck and started building a hideout. The waste bay was perfect. No one ever went there. It was full of broken droids, old scrap metal, and crates labeled "Do not open seriously." Jace used large panels to build a false wall behind a broken freezer unit. Inside, he installed a mattress, a water bottle, a food stash, and a portable scanner to monitor motion. He even added a speaker that played looped audio of him snoring just in case Zarixa tracked his sleeping pattern again. He sealed the front with magnet locks, then sat in the dark, breathing heavily. Plan H had begun. The first 2 days went surprisingly well. No strange notes. No mirror writing. No flowers pulsing on his pillow. Jace stayed inside his bunker, watching the scanner, eating protein bars, writing angry journal entries like, "Day 2, still not mated, still alive, small victory." But on day 3 she found him. It started with a whisper, barely a sound, just the faintest voice outside his hideout. "Jace, I brought soup." He froze. The motion scanner blinked red. Something was moving outside, slow, careful, then another sound. Sniff, sniff. She was tracking his scent, even with the garlic spray. Even with the peppermint. She was getting close. Jace crawled to the far corner of the bunker, holding his breath. The door didn't open, not yet, but a note slid in through the air vent. He picked it up with trembling fingers. It read, "This is a fun game. You hide well. I like your survival instincts. My mother would be very proud of you." Jace dropped the note. "Great," he muttered. "Now I'm bonding with her family tree." On day 4, she stopped trying to enter. Instead, she left things. Small offerings. An alien fruit that glowed green, a carved necklace made of space crystals, a folded blanket made from a material that shifted color with his body heat. Part of him was terrified. Another part was impressed, he had to admit it. Zarixa was committed, focused, creative. If she'd been human, she'd be CEO of a tech company by now. But hiding wasn't sustainable. JACE was running out of food. Out of energy, and worst of all, out of excuses. People on the station were starting to notice he'd vanished. Mateo messaged him, "You dead or just love-struck?" Zarixa started meditating outside the mess hall. She says she's waiting for the rhythms to shift. Bro, what does that mean? Jace didn't answer. He was too busy sweating, because on day 5, Zarixa stopped being quiet. It started with humming, a low, strange song that echoed through the metal walls. Beautiful and unsettling. A sound not made for human ears. Then came the tapping. Soft, rhythmic, not on the door, but all around the walls of the bunker. Jace checked the scanner, multiple red dots. Zarixa had activated a pheromone trace. And now, the station's AI droids were helping her, searching, tapping, listening. She was calling in backup. Plan H was failing. Fast. So he came up with Plan H2.0. It was bold, stupid, risky, but if it worked, it might end the chase for good. Jace slipped out of the bunker at 0300 hours. The station was dark, quiet, everyone asleep. Except one. She was waiting near the hallway junction. Zarixa stood silently, her long arms at her sides. Her eyes glowed gently in the dark. "You finally emerge," she said softly. "I need to talk." Jace said. She tilted her head. "I've misunderstood your traditions," he continued, "and maybe you misunderstood mine. So I want to offer a symbolic bond. Something that respects both our ways." Her eyes lit up. "I'm listening." Jace held up a small silver ring, just a washer from the scrap pile, and placed it gently in her palm. "This is a human symbol of peace, friendship, agreement." Zarixa stared at it. Then at him. Then she smiled, a slow, alien smile that sent chills down his spine. "I accept." She placed the ring around one of her long fingers and bowed her head. "I will pause the pursuit." "Out of honor?" Jace sighed with relief. Finally, a break. Then she looked up. "But the season isn't over yet." And she winked. For 2 days, Jace lived in a fragile kind of peace. Zarixa had accepted the symbolic ring. She said she would pause the chase, and to Jace's surprise, she kept her word. She no longer waited outside his cabin. No new flower offerings, no writing on the mirror, no soft humming from the vents. She simply watched him. From a distance, silent, patient, still. That almost scared him more. He tried to focus on his work again. Systems maintenance, reactor flow checks, sensor calibrations. The usual boring stuff. But he could feel her gaze across the room, not hungry, not angry, just watching. She didn't speak, didn't chase, but she never looked away, and Jace knew. Something was building. One evening, she approached him, quietly, carefully, no sudden movements. "I have a request," she said. Jace braced himself. "I want to show you something," she continued. "Privately," he blinked. Like, what kind of something?" "A truth," he hesitated. "Does it involve glowing flowers or blood ink?" "No, this time just honesty." Jace didn't like surprises, but something in her tone had changed. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't flirtatious. It was almost sad. They went to a restricted level. Deep inside the station, below the storage bays, below the engine coils, a place Jace didn't even know existed. She led him through a narrow hatch into a cold, dim room. In the center, a strange silver orb floating in midair, humming softly. It projected glowing Andraxian symbols on the walls, pulsing like a heartbeat. "What is this?" Jace asked. "My memory pod," Zarixa said. "An ancestral vessel. It stores the emotional path of every female from my line. I add to it soon." He turned slowly. "Add what?" Zarixa stepped closer. "You think I chase you? For fun, or instinct, or conquest?" She shook her head. "I chase you because if I fail, I die." Jace froze. "What?" "Our mating season is not just ritual," she said. "It is survival. Our bodies shift. Our organs change. If we do not complete the bond, our systems collapse from within." Jace stepped back. "You Mean you're dying? She nodded once, slowly, but yes. The changes already began when I chose you. He stared at her. The chasing, the gifts, the desperation. It all made sense now. You never told me. You were afraid. I didn't want pity. I wanted to be chosen. Jay sat down on a metal crate. His brain was buzzing. You picked me, he said quietly. Why? Zarixa knelt in front of him. You were kind, curious. You never mocked me, even when others laughed. Your smell, yes, it triggered the cycle. But your actions, they kept me interested. She touched her chest. I watched many humans before I transferred. I thought, I could learn your ways. Speak your love language. You copied human dating shows, Jay said, didn't you? She nodded. Yes, the ones with roses and dramatic music. He nearly laughed. But he didn't, not this time. I can't bond with you, Jay said finally. Not in the way your species needs. I'm not built for that. I know, she replied, but maybe we can find a middle path. He frowned. What do you mean? Humans bond differently. You said it yourself. Talk, trust, time. She paused. Then let's do that. I'll slow the process, delay the internal changes. But you must stay close. Talk to me, try, or I won't survive. Jay stared at the orb, glowing quietly in the dark. This was no longer a weird story about an alien crush. It was a life or death situation. He wasn't trapped in a romantic comedy. He was trapped in a biological contract. With a countdown. He stood up. All right, he said slowly. Let's try your middle path. Zarixa tilted her head. You'll speak to me? Teach me human courtship? Yes, step by step, very slow. No ceiling vents, no grooming schedules. She gave a small nod. No flowers? Maybe one, a small one. No dripping, she smiled. A real smile this time, soft, quiet, almost human. They walked back together. For the first time, side by side, not as predator and prey, but as two strange beings, trying to understand each other. It wasn't love, not yet, but it wasn't a trap anymore either. Just a beginning, a weird, awkward sci-fi beginning. Jace never thought dating advice would save a life, especially not alien dating advice. But here he was, coaching a 7-foot warrior woman from Andrak 7 on how to slow bond like a human. So her organs wouldn't collapse. Romance had officially become a survival mission. For the past 5 days he'd followed the plan. Talk, teach, talk more. No touching, no pheromones. No surprise vent-crawling.ca. Rixa kept her distance. Watched human videos, took notes. She even tried smiling without flaring her fangs. Half success. Jace showed her how to compliment someone without mentioning their scent glands. She taught him how her people express respect with silence and gifts of polished stones. There were moments. Weird ones. Sweet ones. And one very awkward game of chess where she called the queen piece a dominant hunter with high fertility aura. He didn't correct her, but Jace had one problem. The clock. Her body was still changing. Slower now, yes. But every scan showed internal pressure building. And the truth was clear. If she didn't complete the mating cycle one way or another, Zarixa wouldn't survive. So Jace went back to the one thing humanity was always best at, fixing the impossible. He called in help. 2 friends, one favor. No questions asked. Mateo, his best buddy on the station, and Dr. Karen, the xenobiologist who always looked tired but knew everything. Together, they built a plan. Not romantic. Not ritualistic. Scientific. Step 1, bio-scan.karra, and ran a full diagnostic on Zarix's system using a hybrid scanner. We're looking at a hormone collapse, she explained. Her body believes the bond is incomplete, so it's triggering a self-destruct mode. Zarixa didn't flinch. It is the price of a failed choice. Jace stepped in. Not failed, just rerouted. Step 2. Neural proxy.jace designed a device using an old VR rig, a thermal mesh, and bits from the AI core. What does it do? Zarixa asked, watching him solder wires. It fakes the final stage of your bonding link, he said. Simulates emotional closure. Triggers your brain into believing the connection was achieved. It's a lie. It's engineering, he corrected. Half my job is lying to machines until they behave, Zerixa tilted her head. Human mating is very complicated. You don't know the half of it. Step 3, the ritual room. They cleared a chamber near the AI core, dimmed the lights, added quiet music, something calm from Earth's ancient history, lo-fi jazz. Zerixa sat in the center, wearing the thermal mesh over her skin. The device hummed beside her. Her memory orb floated nearby, ready to record her bonding event. Jay sat across from her. This might not work, he said honestly. I understand, she replied, but if it does. No more hunting me, right? She gave a tiny grin. Unless it becomes tradition. He smiled nervously. Let's not start that. He activated the neural proxy. Lights blinked. Her eyes closed. Her skin began to glow faintly with shifting colors: silver, blue, soft green. Her breath slowed. For 5 minutes, the room was silent except for the hum of the machine and the low beat of simulated heart waves. Then the orb chimed, a soft tone, bonding. Cycle complete. Zerixa opened her eyes and smiled, not the predator smile. Not the copycat smile from romance vids, a real one, one of peace. I feel stable, she said. Balanced. Jace released the breath he'd been holding. The next day, she reported to HR and filed a successful non-physical bonding record. The first ever between an Andraxian and a human. AR was stunned. Dr. Karen wrote 3 papers. Mateo demanded a raise for emotional damage. And Jace? He went back to work, quietly. Thankfully, weeks passed. Zerixa kept her distance. No flowers. No carvings. No tracking. Just small things. One time, she left him a cup of coffee black, just how he liked it. Another time, she fixed a wire in his station before he asked. Once, she stood beside him during a maintenance walk and said, I read about holding hands. Do you think we can try it in 4 months? He shrugged. Ask me again in 5. He still kept the old notes, the scent chart, the mirror writing, the glowing flower in the containment jar, not as trophies, as reminders that sometimes humanity didn't win by fighting harder. Sometimes it won by doing what no alien ritual could predict. Think, adapt, care. That night, Jace looked out the station window into the dark sea of stars. Somewhere out there, people still thought aliens were monsters, or robots, or emotionless bugs. He knew better. They were weird, sure, confusing, intense, sometimes terrifying, but not monsters. Just people. Different people. Looking to connect, even if it started with a blood-dripping flower and ended with a fake brain bond. As he turned out the lights and climbed into bed, his cum unit beeped once. A message from Zerixa. Simple. Double quote. No hunting tomorrow. Just tea? Jay stared at the screen. Smiled. And typed back. Bring snacks.